You've tuned into Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Your access to success strategies and more to help you move onward and upward with your life. Listen in each week as she interviews others who have really taken their essence to the next level and truly unpaused their life. Now here's your host, Dr. Callie Estes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Callie Estes, and I am founder of the Addictions Academy, the Addictions Coach, and Rehab Rescue. Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is a great podcast where we showcase people who have done something extraordinary with their life. I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy all of our guests.
On my way, found a reason to wake up another day.
Before we get started, let's hear this short message from one of my supporters.
All the things that you won't do.
Did you know 81% of Americans would like to become a published author? Chances are you might be one of them. What's stopping you? Writing and publishing a book takes a lot of work and is expensive, right? Well, not anymore. For your next book project, or even your first, team up with Hassle-Free Books. They make it so easy to become an author. They remove all of the fuss and struggle and make it smooth and simple. And it's far more affordable than you could ever imagine. Go to hasslefreebooks.com and use promo code UNPAUSE to receive a 10% discount off of any book project. Get started right away and become a published author in as little as 45 days. For your free 1-hour book formula guide, which will show you just how painless it can be to become an author, head to hasslefreebooks.com today.
All right. Thanks again for joining me. Let's get started with today's show.
Took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of life.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life. This is Dr. Callie Estes with the Addictions Coach and the Addictions Academy. My guest today is Wesley, or Wes Geer, and he's an American guitar player, songwriter, and producer, best known as the former touring guitar player of the metal band Korn, as well as the creator of Rock to Recovery, a program that helps those in treatment for drug and alcohol addiction and other afflictions. Rock to Recovery aims to bring music into treatment centers by enabling program participants to form bands, write songs together, and even record their work, offering a therapeutic release and an opportunity to channel their energies into a creative pursuit. Wes has worked with a number of other artists and groups playing guitar, co-writing, and or producing songs such as Papa Roach, The Damages, Ben Groff's, and Throw Kill Cult. Welcome, Wes. How are you today?
I am great. Well, it's about 100 degrees here at the beach in California, so this is kind of weird. But aside from trying not to melt, I am doing great. So, for the listeners, I'm in the car with the air conditioning on.
Awesome. Well, it's about 70 out here in Miami, nice and cool and breezy. We have California weather.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So you're getting back from Europe. How was your vacation?
It was awesome. I had long wanted to go just take some time and explore the south of France. I've never been to Portugal. I went there and explored as well. Obviously, being a musician who's toured extensively, I've seen a lot of places, but usually you're in and out really quickly. So it was kind of about just having no agenda and going and getting lost and finding a lot of cool spots to go swimming and whatever. So it was good. It was great exploration of the place.
Awesome. I think that's so important. We take time just to relax and decompress and just go someplace really beautiful with no agenda and no schedule.
Yeah. And I think, I know some people don't like travel, and that's cool, but I think in some magical, almost inexplicable way, traveling is one of the most spiritual experiences that you could ever have. It's just so mind-opening. See how humans evolve into different cultures, different ways they create art, whether it's food, painting, architecture, or the way they worship their God, or spirituality, or music. I just think it's such a beautiful opportunity to enhance the spirit.
That's awesome. I had a friend that just came back from Cambodia, and she said it was a life-altering experience.
Yeah, I've heard that's become a destination of late. I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it was magical.
Well, welcome back. Let's start off with this. Tell our listeners first, I know you were in Korn. What was it like being in that band with that group of guys and touring? What went on?
Well, it was a little different because my first band was Hed P.E. Or Hed P.E. That was my baby. We got a record deal. We toured for years. That's how I met the Korn guys. That band played with, System of a Down, Slipknot, Incubus, Korn. We all played clubs together. We came up together, Deftones and all that. The music was done for me, I'm going to be sober now. And I only got the Korn gig because of my sobriety, because they had a cat in there who was drinking too much, and they were having issues with him, and he actually passed away. What I understand from drinking. And so when I got that gig, which took a lot of hustle to actually finally secure it, it was kind of my whole life, right? And my whole journey of life of wanting to be a musician, crashing and burning, getting sober, thinking my life's over. Then I get the gig with one of the biggest bands in the world after I thought music was going to be done for me because I'm a sober musician and I'm not young anymore. And actually, the universe, as it often does in recovery, has a totally more amazing plan than you could ever imagine. So I get to play with, one of the biggest bands on the planet. And it was cool. I knew the guys from long ago. I wouldn't think I could BFFs or anything, but there was a familiarity there. I was a big fan of the music. It was an honor and a privilege to get to come in and help fulfill their artistic vision, because that's what I was there for. I wasn't there to be all about Wes. I was there to go, hey, you guys get these legendary songs. Let me help them, do my part to help them be legendary. And the difference was that I was sober, whereas with Hed, I was just, shit-faced all the time. Pardon my language, but that seemed the most appropriate word for it. And so to go around the world with a big band and feel like it was really a gift from all the years of hard work and changing my life and play, go in and headline the biggest festivals in the world. Pretty trippy, when you're watching Danzig play at 2:00 and then you're the headlining band. I mean, it's just honor and privilege, and it really humbles me. Every day I was always so grateful just to get to do what we were doing.
So let me ask you this. You had the experience then on both sides. You've played in a band, totally shit-faced, as you put it, where that was, the thing. And then you played in a band which you were hired for your sobriety. And that's so unique with rock and metal bands because most of them are off the chain. So you were hired because you're sober, which is really cool. So what were some of the differences with, being on the road and challenges on both sides?
Well, it goes even farther than that in the sense that I had a bunch of crappy bands, and I got really, by drinking and smoking weed, developed to where I started doing amphetamines, and then I started really using that as a muse, and it was hard to argue that it wasn't working because I created the new band, which was Hed, and we became the most popular band around town and had record and label interests. And, so I was like, wow, this stuff's really working for me. So that's the one version, right? I need drugs to create it, help me create a cool band and get Jive Records from New York City, such a cool hip-hop label, to come out and sign us. So because we were fusing hip-hop and punk and metal and all that, so it felt like an honor for that to happen. And, when I was playing, and it was like, who cares if I'm the messed up guitar player? It was like I was definitely one of the leaders of the band, so I wasn't really answering to anybody too much. So if I had a bad show, who cares, right? A lot of embarrassing moments and a lot of denial or just not even realizing how much it had a hold of me and how much it was lessening my ability to perform at a higher level or even write better songs. I just spun out. And then you go to Korn, and now it's not my band. Now I can't have a bad show and go, oh, well, I'll get it better tomorrow. It's like, I got to play good for these guys. They hired me to do a job. Now I'm sober, so I'm not loaded going, man, I sound so good. And our sound man is like the best in the world. So in the old days, we would play a show, and there maybe if somebody recorded it, you couldn't tell what was going on. I mean, our sound man was so good, you could have somebody's iPhone recording it. And when you're with Korn, there's like 800 recordings that go up on YouTube the next day. So I check out the recording, and you could hear everything. So pressure is a word I want to think of. I don't know. I had to deliver. So that was cool. It was cool. I definitely felt it. It was definitely intimidating sometimes when, and people used to ask me, when I was in Hed, hey, do you have stage fright? I'm like, no, I don't have stage fright. Yeah, I did have stage fright because I drank a couple giant Jack and Cokes before every show. And it was my band that, but when you go play with Korn and you're doing the blind intro by yourself to 80,000 people and you didn't get loaded before, your heart beats really loud. And then, you got who knows what rock stars on the side of the stage watching you, and super intimidating, super scary. And then they used to love to mess with me too. As I would be there, they'd like throw things at me and just try to get me to mess up. But yeah, it was challenging, and sometimes you do mess up, and I remember being jet lagged in Russia. We flew like 3 days to get to the festival we headlined on some Russian beach. I didn't even know Russia had beaches, but it was like this beach fest. It was pretty rad. And I totally forgot my part. I could not for the life of me remember it. And the whole, it was just really embarrassing. So yeah. But that's like some of the challenges. The best part of it was that I was present for it all. I knew the reality of it. I was present to take it in and not let it pass me by because I was too wasted. I was present to have my performance be at its highest possible level. I was present to make connections with people, and I wasn't hungover the next morning so I could go explore the city and really take it in. So it's the biggest gift. And I think it's important to point out that I thought my life was over. Music would be a part of my life. Life is going to suck now. I'm sober, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, music's going to be cooler than ever. Your life's going to be better than ever. You're going to play better than ever. You're going to have the most success you ever had in your life, all because you're sober. It's like, whoa, okay. And, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think the thing for most people battling addiction, whether it's sex addiction, gambling, alcoholism, whatever, drug addiction, heroin junkies, we think when we quit, our life's going to be over. And it's like, dude, you're 120 pounds, your teeth are falling out, and you're worried about your life being over. It's like, no, your life's over now.
Right.
Do the stuff that's holding you back and really thrive.
Well, you touched on it in two ways. First of all, sober's no fun. Why bother? My life is over. I have to, be boring for the rest of my life. And then also a second piece of it is it's terrifying. How am I going to do the things I normally do sober? And one of them, you got up on stage sober and played. What was that first experience like? Were you terrified? Like, oh my God, I got to do this sober? Or were you confident?
No, I mean, both. I think you're both. I hadn't played live in a long time. And the first thing I did with no rehearsal with the band, like literally none, we went and played the George Lopez show. So yeah, I was super nervous. I had the confidence I could do it, but, there's always the nervousness of the unforeseen, I guess. Definitely a lot of pressure, a lot of fear, but and I think that's kind of a defining characteristic for some people. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but some people don't want to deal with that. And that's cool. They want to lay up, but I want it. I wanted it. I wanted the challenge. I wanted to try. I'd rather go there, choke, suck, and have them go, you're horrible. And I go, okay, well, I guess I'm done playing guitar, or I'm going to crush it and go, yeah, I can do this. And I was there for the latter.
That's awesome. That's incredible that you could do that. Now, so let me ask you. So here you are, you're a guitar player, you're playing with Korn, and then what happens? You get out of Korn, and how do you transition into doing what you do now? Like, how did you make that jump?
Yeah, so there's a spiritual philosophy that I heard that was you can pray for yourself as long as others are to be helped. It's funny when you look back in hindsight, everybody says hindsight's 20/20, but like there's so many things that happened in my life that at the time I wasn't too excited about, or as they maybe didn't work out, they seemed like a waste of time. But I had worked with a girl, Chantal, who was really into giving back, and she would write like uplifting songs, which to me was weird, like cheesy songs, like what? And she was into nonprofits. And so I think there was a lot of seeds that were planted in me I didn't realize, but I could have easily fell into self-pity because I started figuring the Korn gig wasn't going to last forever. And then Brian started reconnecting with the guys, Brian Hed Welch, the original guitar player, after not talking to him for 7 years. So I felt internally this gig has a timer on it now. So my brain was like, man, what a bummer. It seems like I'm supposed to be a musician, but it's so hard to make a living. Now I'm sober, and, you can whine about that, too, if you want to let yourself. So I just started praying and meditating. And I'm not like a religious guy, but I do believe in the power of prayer and meditation as it's worked for me and countless others as I've witnessed it in their life. So I was just like, God, where do you want me? Seems like I was destined to be a musician and a sober guy, an ex-drug addict, an ex-alcoholic. How can I help people and make a living? That was the key prayer. How can I help people and make a living with who I am? And then it just kind of came to me over a course of events, and then in a lightning bolt, I had this idea of Rock to Recovery. I certainly didn't know it would ever turn into what it is now. But it was like, well, I remember being in rehab, and we were painting pictures in rehab and doing yoga, but there was really no music. But I remember having my guitar, and when we would have our little breaks between lunch or whatever, we would write these silly songs, and it would bring everybody together. Even when like you have, the rehab I was in had 22 dudes, so you're like, I like that guy, he's weird, that guy's a jerk, right? Because you're insecure, so you're judging everybody. Everybody's judging everybody. But when we would play these songs, everybody would come together, and it would tear down the walls, and it would bring this collective consciousness together. We'd write silly country songs, and that stuck with me. I was like, so the idea was like, why is there not music in treatment centers? I knew a lot of different ones in the area, and none of them had music. And so I came up with this idea. What I wanted to do is go in there and kind of get people to do what I've done my whole life. Is I've always brought in songs to bands. Hed P.E. I'd bring in the song, the drums, I'd program the beat, everything. But I wanted to help get people who are non-musicians access this songwriting thing and get them to play music, people who don't normally play music. And I pitched it for 6 months probably. People go, that's a great idea. Oh, cool. You want to hire me? No. Oh, okay. And I just kept pitching it, and I was like almost out of money. And then Paul Mullen, who was an old friend from days before we were sober, and he is the CEO at Balboa Horizons. So I finally pitched him. He's like, I love the idea. I'll give you a shot. And he goes, I want you to know I'm committed to you. It's probably going to be a lot more pretty in 6 months than it is now. So I like the commitment. And even having said that, to go off back on what we were talking about earlier, the fear, they go, we want you to start in 2 weeks. And I started freaking out. My brother goes, you're going to try to write a song with like 12 people at once? You know how it goes in a band. Everybody tries. He goes, it's not going to work. And he's a smart guy. My brain was like, this isn't going to work. What are you doing? And I literally told Balboa, I go, I need a couple more weeks. I had to step away from it because I almost wanted to tell him, I can't do this. It's not going to work. And I had to remind myself of why I'm doing this. Why? Why am I there? Remove the fear of why it's going to crumble or why it won't work. I'm there to bring music into treatment. It's a very simple concept. So let me just try to do that. And from the very first session, the people loved it. They love, you're in treatment, you're dealing with shame and guilt and being a junkie and being dope sick, or maybe you used to steal from people, or your mom is pissed at you, your wife hates you, whatever. Music is a thing that just brings love in your heart and connection and quiets the outside world. And it was successful right out the gate.
That's awesome. And that's a really good story too, is that you came up against these trials of, okay, we like it, but we're not going to pay you to do it. And you just kept going until you got the yes, and you got the yes, and you went, uh-oh, now what? Someone now is ready to take my idea, believes in me, but the fear of what if it works, and then, oh crap, I can't make it work. And then you did exactly the right thing. You said, let me figure it out. You wrapped your head around it and you launched, and look how successful it is. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's another spiritual mantra, right, which I was taught, which is we're in the action business. We're not in the results business. My job is to be Tom Brady and throw that ball as good as I can down the field. And it's not my job to catch it. And what happens after I release that ball is in God's hands or the universe, whatever you want to call it. And so really that was it. It's just like, well, this is where I'm supposed to be right now because I got the opportunity. I've been pitching it for a long time. I'm going to go in there and do the best. And the results are up to God. The results are up to the universe. The outcome is not there. And then we'll worry about that later. And I think that's really it. I think that a lot of people worry too much about the outcome. And if they don't project a good outcome, which I almost did and almost quit, right, when I was trying to foresee the outcome. And that really stops a lot of people from going after your dreams. And like that saying, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And that's really how we got to live. We just got to keep taking the action. And maybe it didn't work, but maybe in that session I learned something else that would take me somewhere else. But we got to keep taking the action and moving forward because when we do stuff can happen. When we don't do anything, nothing can happen.
And that's true. And I think what happens is when people get sober, they get that first rejection like you did. And then they go, oh, well, it didn't work. See, I tried. And they give up. And then they sit around and they become cynical and judgmental and of other people that are successful because they didn't just continue. And I always say, the first 3 answers you're going to get are no. When you're doing something that's off the wall and different, and you're going to get that pushback. And the more pushback you get, you're doing the right thing. So you've just got to keep going forward until you get that yes. And once you get it, you just spiral and you take off. And now, are you all over the U.S. now, or are you just West Coast still?
Well, it's kind of a trick question. We're primarily in the West Coast. Our program has been integrated as part of the weekly treatment curriculum. So we're there every week at these programs. Some people wonder if it's like a one-off or something. So we're there every week, and we're part of 80 different treatment programs. Might even be 85 by now. We keep adding clients. We have 10, soon to be 12 full-time guys. They do 450 sessions every month. 450 times we go in there and write songs with people. And that's just pretty much California. We have a contract with the Department of Defense where we fly around to different Air Force bases around the country. So in that sense, we are national, and we write songs with wounded warriors of the Air Force and the Army, and we're working on expanding that as well because we've had such great success there. Very powerful. I mean, literally, we've had stories like a woman saying, like, I was going to kill myself, and Rock to Recovery helped put a song back in my heart. It's like, what? You're hearing it, and you can't believe it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So we're looking at expanding into other cities. The thing works. There's no reason not to expand it. We just want to make sure we do it right, where it's the right scenario, and don't do it just for ego, like we've got to be big or whatever. Got to just do it when it feels right for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's awesome. And let me know when you're ready to come to the East Coast. I'll hook you up out here on both sides, treatment centers and people that can work for you, because it's definitely something we need over here. We don't have unique concepts over here. Everything is very, very similar and not working as well as it should be.
Well, I certainly will. Absolutely. It's bound to happen soon. So thank you.
Sure. Now tell me about the Army gig. That's kind of unique. So how does that work?
Working with wounded warriors?
Yeah. So, because they're not musicians. These are just regular, everyday people, right?
Yeah. We'll have musicians. I mean, people who play as a hobby in groups from time to time. Obviously, if you take 12 people, somebody's probably played something, or a few of them sometime. But the program's designed for non-musicians. And so when we were out with Korn, Jonathan Davis was really active with visiting Air Force bases and getting connected to wounded vets. He's really passionate about that. These are people who give their life or their legs or body appendages you don't want to lose, you know what I mean? And
Right.
for our freedom. So we can sit here and eat tacos and play on our iPhone, you know? And so through that, I remember making a connection, and I asked if I could get the opportunity to work with the Air Force. And we tried it out in Las Vegas, and it worked really well. We had great success. And so they started saying, well, hey, can you come to Seattle? Can you come here? I was like, I don't know if we can do that because it's far away, and how we're going to do it. And we figured it out, how to do it, you know, logistically. And so it's incredible because, you know, at first I was like, well, how do I connect? Because I'm like an alcoholic drug addict. How do I connect? I'm not a vet. I didn't go, you know, into battle. But what you find is the feelings, the emotions, the raw emotions that are there when people are struggling is feeling lost, hopeless, shame, guilt, unloved, isolated, unconnected. It's the same thing emotionally as we feel when we're alcoholics, drug addicts, anything. The same kind of feelings. So the music really does the work for us. But yeah, we go in there, we do our rock to recovery sessions, which is we form a band, we get talking, and we figure out what's going on inside us emotionally that day as a collective, and we write a song, and we perform it on bass. Like we literally do it, write the song on Tuesday, rehearse it a couple of times on Wednesday, and then Thursday we play it on bass. And it's been incredible. We've had like congressmen in bass sitting right in front of us, and 4-star generals, you know, start rocking out with us. And of course, the band that we're in is guys that have, you know, and women who've flown fighter jets and tanks and commando. You know, I don't know all the military terminology. I don't want to offend anybody, but these are heroes. These are heroes that have risked life and limb for us. And I get to rock out with them in front of the whole base, playing a song we wrote together just hours before. It's the greatest honor ever. It's so fulfilling.
Wow, that's really, really cool.
It's really cool.
That is really cool. Like that, very few people can say they've done something like that, where you're making a difference, having a good time, and being around people that are, you know, fighting for our country. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's a lot of sub-stories. What I thought going into it was, okay, wounded warrior, you know, because I don't know much, and I'm driving like, okay, wounded warriors, like a guy maybe got his hand blown up or whatever. But it's a lot deeper than that too, because what happens is these people have decided to dedicate their life to service. And not only do they have injuries, or they've seen their friends get blown up and whatever, or had to actually kill people and dealt with all that kind of trauma, but they can't serve anymore, the vast majority of them, because they're injured or whatever reason. So now they don't have a purpose, so a sense of purpose, because they are like, this is what I'm going to do. So all of a sudden they can't do what their brain says they are supposed to do for their life. And they go back to their home in small town, Oklahoma or wherever. And they get detached, and it's very lonely and dark and depressing. And then, you know, you watch them go from that sadness and sharing it when we get to know each other to elation and getting that high that playing music gives. And then there's like the more obvious stories where a woman comes in and she's in a wheelchair and she's like, I've had 148 surgeries. You know, my internals are so messed up from being shot up. And she literally starts standing up out of her wheelchair, crying and singing into the microphone. And you're just like, how am I so lucky to even get to witness this, you know, more or less help facilitate it? It's beyond an honor. And again, going back to that girl I mentioned a long time ago, Sean Tall, the one who was so busy with nonprofits, she kind of planted that seed when long ago. I was like, sure, helping people, that's cool. We'll all say that's cool. But it was so foreign to me. But without her planting that seed, that Rock to Recovery wouldn't happen. And now I'm like, oh, I get it. God, this is so much better than, hey, listen to my band. Want to buy a T-shirt? Do you want to come to our show? It's just like way better than that, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And you touched a little bit on the power of music with the brain. And it's one of the few things that ignites the serotonin jolt in our brain naturally that people use, you know, uppers for, specifically, you know, cocaine or meth or speed or crack to get that jolt. And you're getting it naturally with music, which is awesome.
And that's something that, okay, so when I first started doing these sessions, we're like, hey, let's do music, we'll like it kind of vibe. But now we can walk in there, and of course, there's people who are like, I'm trying not to shoot dope anymore. Why are you coming in here with guitars? I don't play. And then we can say to them, like, scientific, we didn't kind of know this before, hadn't intellectualized it yet. But it's like playing music is unique in that it lights up the whole brain. I don't know anything else that does it, but it's touted as like the only thing or one of the only things because it's both emotional and mechanical. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, it helps organically adjust dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, right? So I love to tell these drug addicts that this is organically going to do for you what those psych meds do. And then we get them singing, because that's really what we call the holy grail of rock recovery is we try to get everybody singing, and we usually do, like 99% of the time. And when you sing, it releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is called, by science, the love molecule. It's released after childbirth, when you breastfeed, if you hug somebody for 20 seconds or longer. So, again, going back to hopeless, depressed, shame, lonely, isolated people, you get them singing and playing, the oxytocin comes out, which makes them feel loved and connected. And it's quite magical and powerful. And that's why our motto is music is the medicine. It quite literally is. And, you know, that's one of our whole other sub-agenda that we have is that, you know, we just feel like everybody's over-medicated, and we absolutely could do a lot more to go for holistic, natural approaches, as I think the universe gave us a lot of amazing tools like playing music that we just don't use enough. And so we're trying to help proliferate and increase that.
That's awesome. So do you think in the future we'll see less traditional therapy rehabs and more music-based type rehabs?
Well, I think you're going to continue to see more holistic-based stuff. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I know that there's already a pushback against drug companies now, but I think it's a small groundswell in comparison to the sheer power that pharmaceuticals have over our nation with advertising and whatever. But much like this, you know, the organic healthy food thing that started swelling up and now it's just like getting more and more powerful, I think you'll see that as well. And so really to have more rehabs that use music and holistic approaches and organics, you're also going to have success in changing people's mentality about it and have success pushing back against the drug companies. And I think that it's going to happen a little bit organically as more people have personal stories of, yeah, my son was on Adderall and it actually didn't help him. Of course, some people need it, absolutely. But I'm saying I think more and more stories are coming up where it's like, yeah, my doctor overprescribed, or we lost our daughter because of this kind of stuff. And as people, I think, get more of a healthy fear of pharmaceuticals and maybe don't realize it's not the first thing you have to reach for, that we'll have more advancements in those kind of holistic, you know, approaches.
That's awesome. So tell our listeners how they can reach you, or a treatment center that wants to hire you guys to come in and do the work. How can they find you?
We're so easy to find. We're Rock 2, which is T-O, Recovery. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram with that same Rock, ROCKTO, Recovery. We have a website, which is rock2recovery.org. We also have the .com. If you mess that up, it'll still take you to the same spot. You can Google us, Rock to Recovery. If you want to find us, we are not hard to find. You just got to make sure that you put the TO, Rock to Recovery, and on our website and any of our pages, we're good about answering. So you could tweet at us. You could send us a Facebook message. There's a way to email us off our website. Hit us up that way, and we'll be happy to get back to you. You can donate. We have, under the Rock Recovery umbrella, we have a for-profit where we send our program to places that can pay for it. And because we want to help places like indigent rehabs and even some of the military stuff that can't, like the VAs that don't have funding for it, we raise money so we can help finance taking our program to places that can't afford it. So we have the nonprofit angle as well. And actually, since I'm on that, we started having events where we have the Rock to Recovery concert. We've had the second one this year. It's to help raise money for the aforementioned nonprofit. We give away a Rock to Recovery Award to Rad Rockstar, who shows you that you can be super cool, sober, have success, and thrive in a tough industry, which is great because it helps break that stigma that you can't. The first year we honored Mike Ness from Social Distortion. This last year we honored Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour, along with Wayne Kramer from the legendary MC5. We have a sober event, and we had Kings of Chaos play this year, which is Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver, along with Steve Stevens from Billy Idol. And we had the DeLeo brothers from Stone Temple Pilots play, plus my Rock to Recovery guys, all guys that have been in like Snot, Seven Dust, all sorts of bands, Death on Wednesday. So it's a bunch of rock stars getting together to do a rad sober show that help raise money and take our program farther to people who may not otherwise get it.
That's awesome. Anything else you would want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, well, we lost Chester Bennington. I was chuckling because we have some videos that are pretty magical to watch. We have video from him from the first year, and he was a dear friend and just a sweet, beautiful soul. So there's cool videos if anybody wants to check it out. It's really sad we lost Chester. Ryan, his best friend, and I performed the tribute song to him this year. So there's some cool, I was chuckling because there's some cool video footage of these rock stars jamming at the Rock to Recovery show, if you wanted to check that out.
Okay, cool.
Go to Facebook and give us the like.
We'll put all your links up next to the podcast so everybody can reach you, be able to click through everything and go right to your Facebook, your Twitter. If you have IG, it'll be up there on your website. So it'll be super easy for them to find you.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on. This is Wes Geer, Rock to Recovery, and Korn, and Hed P.E. And this is Callie Estes with Unpause Your Life. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Head on over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and leave a comment or review of what you think. Or contact us at 1-800-706-0318. If you want to be on our show, feel free to email or call. And if you have a topic, feel free to email or call as well.
Thanks for listening to Unpause Your Life. For show notes and more, head on over to unpauseyourlife.com.
Big shout out to recoveryinnovators.com for help producing this show. Thank you, guys.
I took a walk down the long road where they said that I shouldn't go. On my way found a reason to wake up another day. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be weak, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. I took a walk down the dark road where they said that I shouldn't go. I knew the dangers of flying. Now I'm so far from solid ground, but they